So first off, I'm aware that the sound quality here isn't going to be what you're used to because I am outside right now. It's just the most efficient thing to do and most comfortable in a way, sacrificing a little bit of quality, but oh well. I kind of wanted to talk about the phrase, I'll see where life takes me, or any version of that phrase that is extremely similar. 'Cause I was thinking about it today, and I was like, man, this life's taken me places, and who knows what's next. And just a lot of changes happening now. Things are sinking in. A lot of changes happened in the past 6 months, like a crazy amount of changes. Or it's not necessarily the amount of changes as much as the quality of the change, as like the greatness of the change. Maybe there's only been like 3 or 4 changes if you want to make like I don't know how to define change right now, but I mean just things that have altered in my life that are big enough to constitute a definition of my life has changed or my lifestyle has changed, which is the same thing, or I spend my time incredibly differently, or my priorities are different, or whatever. Past 6 months has been an incredible amount of that, and like really, really, really big, huge changes that have affected the rest of my life for all intents and purposes, because I can't, foresee the future. But as for my commitment, that's there, and I'm obviously talking about family stuff. So I was thinking today as I was doing laundry at my old place, packing things up, just thinking about that phrase, where life takes me, or wherever life is going to take me next, or whatever. And immediately I don't like the phrase. However, I'm more used to thinking of things that way now than I was before. What I don't like about it is the lack of control in the phrase. Like, life isn't taking me somewhere necessarily, but I'm taking myself somewhere within the confines of life, and those confines are vast in a way. Like, it's not like I've only got 2 options or 2 paths to choose, right? There is infinite amount of choice, to a degree, on how you operate within this world. So that's the one thing I don't like about the phrase at first, and a lot of people use that phrase, probably a lot of the same people who, on a previous episode, I had talked about, a lot of those people who think about that phrase in a different context, the phrase "not all those who wander are lost," if they're thinking about it in like an Alice in Wonderland type context, to somehow excuse their inability or lack of desire to have a direction in their life, and they're very comfortable with not having it, and they feel they need to, put on a face for others. So I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from with that phrase. Immediately when I think of like, oh, it's wherever life takes me, it's like, no, you have control, right? Like, you've got a certain amount, a certain ability of control within your own life. It is your life. There's obviously tons of things that are completely out of your control, and that's, I think, where I'm coming to with this phrase now. Like, where life takes me. Like, life doesn't necessarily take me anywhere, but it provides opportunities for me that I'm not seeking out. So, whether that's with, a romantic partner that you just meet by happenstance, and you have an opportunity to pursue something, and then, things go, there's like 4 or 5 different paths or forks in the road, and you choose one of those, paths. There's a choice there that you make. I mean, things like natural disasters, things like COVID-19 right now, like, life has thrown, options at you, but ultimately you choose, right? So life isn't really taking me anywhere. I'm taking myself somewhere through the channel of life and the options that it gives me. Sometimes you don't really have as many options as you'd like. That's for sure. But I mean, that's not true. It depends on what you're willing to sacrifice, right? Like, you've got infinite amount of options, and depending on what you choose your priorities to be, or what positions you find yourself in. Again, sometimes life will throw a scenario at you that limits your options or forces you to rethink your priorities. And sometimes that may be as devastating as, choosing between, like food or shelter, or something for the week. Like, if you have something drastic happen with your finances, that you have to make choices like that, and you're bowing down to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you need to make choices there. That's an unfortunate place to be. And then there's all of these different levels of choice and need and want and desire and what you had planned for your life. And it's just really interesting because in the past last year, I felt like in some ways my life was still on the track I wanted it to be. It just wasn't where I wanted it to be yet. Like, I mean, I wanted to be teaching. I wanted to be in a full-time contract, by now. Last year, I would have wanted to be there already too. But as for other things that I didn't think were changing, I thought I was just like, yeah, I'm going to have a partner and that was going to be it, and not really indulge in the family life, in the nuclear family, it just wasn't in my plan. It wasn't something that I was seeking out, and it wasn't something that I was thinking about in that way. And that obviously made some huge changes. And within that change, there's all these other changes. I mean, I feel like when you have a partner, period, and you have a serious long-term relationship, someone that you start planning your life with, all of a sudden you've got twice as many things to think about. And some of that is due to family, right? Like, you've got your own family, you've got that figured out for the most part. Every once in a while, something throws a wrench in it, and you've got to fix it. But then you've got someone else's family that you don't know anything about, and you've got all these other complications, because, I mean, family automatically, I think, brings complication. Relationships with people bring complication, period. So when you've got family, and especially a lot of people who feel forced to have relationships with their family despite them being toxic or destructive, then it just brings a whole bunch of new complications. So, you're dealing with someone else and their, I don't want to say baggage, but I mean, that's kind of what it is. I mean, you bring your own baggage, they bring their own baggage. It doesn't have to be a purely negative term or label, but it's just, we're coming into, a relationship or a friendship or whatever, like, with your own personal history and experiences. And some of those things, it's not like every single thing in your life is resolved when you, at any single point, you've always got something going on. And I feel like this is, going off the rails, which is kind of like every single thing I talk about. Yeah, I felt like I was going to go more places with that. But again, just reflecting on that term of like, life's taking me places, like, no, life is giving me a lot of opportunities right now and a lot of choices that I wasn't thinking about before. And I am making those choices. And sometimes it feels like there's not much of a choice because I already have my end goal in mind. And I'm so focused on, I'm wanting to do this or wanting to do that. And the circumstances of other people, again, people automatically create complication. People existing, period, is, if you have to interact with them, immediately invites a lot of opportunity for complex experiences. That's just automatic. I feel like, natural elements of life that don't include human beings give you a lot less complication or complex experiences to have to deal with. There are bigger ones like natural disasters and stuff like that, but there's not as many of them on a day-to-day basis. But that's the world that I live in, that I choose to live in. I mean, I could completely just like go live in the woods and go off the grid and be by myself. That's a choice that I could make, and I could prepare to do that, but that's not what I really want to do. Anyway, again, continuing the tradition of going off the rails, and now I'm going to train in the background, I'm sure you can hear. But yeah, life is providing me a lot of opportunities. I think I'm just recognizing that. I'm recognizing that, I've never been one to say life has taken me places, like, oh man, life's taken me wherever. No, I've always felt like I am, choosing, I am making choices. Life puts situations in front of me, and I still have to make a choice. I don't want to ever submit to someone else making choices for me or directing my life. Situations happen, you meet people, things happen, other people complicate things, life complicates things, weather complicates things, whatever. Natural occurrences of being on planet Earth give you choices that you have to make, and that's just the way it is. But I never want any of those things to dictate my happiness or where I would like to go. I was talking to someone else the other day that hasn't spoken to me for a long time. I was like, I'm just rolling with the punches, like, throwing out cliches like that. And I am rolling with the punches because there are punches that I'm not choosing to have in my life, but I'm rolling with them. Like, I'm I'm doing my best in those scenarios, and I'm choosing the things that seem to be the most best, the most efficient, the best quality choices I can make for the future that I want. I think I just gave myself a pep talk. I feel that's how I feel with this conversation. But with that, I will see you on another time.